You're listening to the Quint's podcast.
Bihar is angry with Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, but the ruling NDA is all set to come back to power. That's what the first survey ahead of the upcoming assembly elections in the state indicates. According to predictions from the CVoter opinion poll, which surveyed 2,100 respondents across the state, Nitish Kumar, who's been in power for 15 years, is looking at a massive anti-incumbency. His unpopularity is at an all-time high, with almost 57% of those surveyed wanting him out, 45% rating his performance as poor, and 30% saying that they're unhappy with him but don't want to change the government. Despite this, the survey also shows that the NDA could win somewhere in the range of 141 to 161 seats in the 243-member assembly, with the RJD-Congress alliance lagging at 64 to 84 seats. With only a month to go, let's analyze the key predictions and takeaways from the CVoter opinion poll, what they mean, and what's at stake for the NDA and the UPA coalitions in Bihar. You're tuned in to The Big Story, the podcast where we dissect the headline-making news for you. And I'm your host, Shalbari. And for this podcast, I'll also be joined by the Quint's political editor, Aditya Menon. Bihar state elections is the first to take place since the pandemic broke out in the country, and in the challenging circumstances triggered by the COVID crisis, such as massive unemployment and the influx of migrant workers, combined with Bihar floods, Chief Minister Nitish Kumar is seeking a re-election for the fourth time. The polling in the state will take place in 3 phases, 28th October, 3rd November and 7th November, and the results will be declared on 10th November. But with less than a month to go, how does one interpret the first opinion poll? Let's go over to Aditya to understand this paradox of Chief Minister Nitish Kumar riding high on anti-incumbency but still expected to return for the fourth time.
These are extremely startling numbers that the CVoter survey has put forward. You have 55.7% people who are saying that they are angry with Nitish Kumar and that they want to vote him out. Then you have around 29 to 30% people who are saying that they are angry with him, with his government, but they don't really want to vote him out. If you add these two, it means that close to 86 to 87% of the population of the electorate in Bihar are angry with Nitish Kumar. Now, in any other circumstances, this would have led to a landslide against the incumbent government. But why isn't this happening? Why is the same survey saying that Nitish Kumar is likely to come back as CM and that the NDA is going to win a comfortable majority? I think let's look at this 86% a little more in detail. You have first this 29 to 30% who want to vote him back, at least who don't want him to go out and are angry with him. Now, this 29 to 30% would probably be the average BJP voter, for whom Nitish Kumar is like a majburi, someone they have to tolerate for the time being until their own party is able to form the government in the state on its own might. So that's one section of people who might be in this category. Then there must be voters from other smaller NDA constituents who might be in this category. There may also be voters who would genuinely be upset with Nitish Kumar, but they fear the Rashtriya Janata Dal and Tejasvi Yadav, a prospect of a Tejasvi Yadav chief ministership even more. There would be these 3 kinds of people who would fall in this 29% category. Then let's look at this 55 to 56% a little more closely. Now, the projected vote share for the RJD-led UPA is about 33.4%. But you have 55.7% who don't want Nitish Kumar to come to power. So there's a gap of 23%. That is people who don't want Nitish to come to power, but yet they don't want to vote for the RJD-led UPA either. That means 2 in 5 voters who want to see the back of Nitish Kumar's government, 2 in 5 of such voters are not very keen on the RJD. So this really shows that there is massive anti-incumbency, but the main opposition is unable to capitalize on it.
And while Kumar's popularity is down, if the India Today Mood of the Nation survey is of any indication, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's popularity is still at an all-time high with a 78% approval rating despite the centre's handling of the coronavirus pandemic and the LSE standoff with China. So what's at stake for the NDA here?
The stakes for the NDA are extremely high. If you look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's track record in state elections, his party hasn't won a convincing majority since 2018 in any state election. You had the state election in Karnataka where the BJP fell short. You had election. The BJP then lost power in in Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh, of course, they managed to sneak back as they did in Karnataka, but in none of these states did the BJP win a majority on its own. Again, in Haryana, BJP had to take the help of Dushyant Chautala's JJP. In Maharashtra, the BJP came to power with the help of the Shiv Sena, but then the Shiv Sena ditched it to form a government with the UPA. Then in Jharkhand and Delhi, the BJP was completely decimated. So I mean, this election, the Bihar election, is Modi's best bet of showing that his popularity and his charisma can work even in a state election. That's why this win is extremely important for him. It's important for another reason as well, because this is the first election that is taking place after the COVID-19 lockdown. Is the first election after the extremely startling negative growth figures of India's GDP came forward. It is the first election after this entire migrant labor crisis, after the Chinese incursions into Ladakh. So this is in some ways, if the BJP manages to win with the help of the JDU, they would obviously showcase it as some kind of a referendum that okay, no, that Modi hasn't really failed on these fronts, and the Bihar victory is proof, which is why the BJP has conceded to the JDU a great deal because they really want this victory to go through.
Even as the dates for elections were declared, a lot of decisions between the JDU and the BJP need to be smoothened out yet. Despite assurances of NDA unity, the parties are yet to formalize the seat sharing, and there are some new entries to accommodate. Jitin Ram Manjhi-led Hindustani Awam Morcha will be joining the NDA, and there's also speculations about the Rashtriya Lok Samta Party, led by former Union Minister Upendra Kushwaha, joining the alliance. And while that's happening, there's also the trouble with Ramvilas Paswan's Lok Janshakti Party, who, according to reports, is demanding to contest on all 42 seats as it did in the 2015 elections, or it may decide to go solo. And we've seen that in two previous state elections that are in Maharashtra and Jharkhand, the BJP paid dearly for not being able to come at a consensus about seat distributions with its allies. So is it going to be a learning lesson for the NDA and specifically for the JDU in Bihar?
Definitely, the NDA, despite all these positive opinion polls, they shouldn't be complacent, and a lot would depend on seat sharing and the candidate selection. The seat sharing part isn't really resolved as yet because Ramvilas Paswan's Lok Janshakti Party and the JDU are having a dispute regarding how many seats can the LJP be given. So, I mean, the seat sharing is not yet a done deal for the NDA. It's not even a done deal for the UPA for that matter. So, a lot would, and since each of these parties, they also come with the support of their respective vote banks, or rather, their support from respective caste groups. So, I mean, if a party doesn't get accommodated, it would naturally harm that particular coalition. So that's why the seat sharing will play an important role in shaping finally what happens. We saw in Haryana and Maharashtra that after seat sharing, the UPA did manage to catch up to some extent after the seat sharing and candidate selection took place.
What is really interesting, however, is that despite Kumar's soaring unpopularity when it comes to the people's pick for a CM, he still ranks above his young competitor, RJD's Tejasvi Yadav, in the survey with 30.3% respondents picking the incumbent as the CM choice, with Tejasvi behind at 15.4%. However, the other side of the argument is it too early to consider this prediction?
obviously these are extremely early opinion polls, and I think it would be best if we just see them as broad trends pointing towards where the wind is blowing. Um, Obviously, these polls have gotten it wrong in the past. If one looks specifically at the CVoter poll in Haryana and Maharashtra, they got the seat share particularly wrong in Haryana. Their vote share, on the other hand, was reasonably accurate. I mean, it was, I think, within 4-5% margin of error. Uh, I would personally think that it's my opinion that seat predictions are best ignored because it's something that is too localized and too much dependent on factors like who's the candidate, who are the competing candidates, and what happens in the run up to polling day itself. So seat predictions and during the early parts election campaign are extremely dicey, so one should not take the seat predictions too seriously. But I think the vote share predictions are interesting. It predicts 11, around close to 11 percentage point lead for the NDA over the UPA. I would not be surprised if this is accurate, because from whatever ground reports one is getting, it is clear that the NDA has an edge, but it is also clear that Nitish Kumar is facing anti-incumbency. So these two aspects have come across quite effectively in this survey.
But one thing that the opinion poll is telling us clearly is that voters are not buying Bollywood actor Sushant Singh Rajput's death by suicide as a poll issue. Despite the Nitish government recommending the case to the CBI and the BJP launching posters in the state, and even former DGP Gupteshwar Pandey formally joining the JDU, the survey shows that it's unemployment and migrant crisis that are the deciding factors, followed by corruption, road, water, electricity, and the state of healthcare. Yet, why is the opposition not being able to take advantage of the Nitish government's anti-incumbency? What factors are working against it? Back to Aditya here.
I mean, there is clearly a credibility crisis that Tejasvi Yadav is facing. You have a large chunk of voters who are extremely angry with Nitish Kumar but are yet not keen on supporting the RJD. I mean, as we discussed earlier, 2 in 5 voters who want to get rid of Nitish Kumar are still not convinced about the RJD-led alliance. Similarly, Tejasvi Yadav's, and if you discuss the chief ministerial choice, Tejasvi Yadav got what, 15%. Now, the entire UPA's predicted vote is 33%. So, if your CM candidate is getting 15% when 33% people are voting for you, which means around over 50% of over half of those voting for the UPA are not convinced about Tejasvi Yadav. Around 8% people overall said that they would prefer Lalu Prasad, Tejasvi Yadav's father, as the chief minister. I mean, he's convicted and he cannot be chief minister, yet people said that they would want to see him as chief minister. So it's clearly, I mean, Tejasvi hasn't entirely succeeded in stepping into Lalu Prasad's shoes. It's unfair because Lalu Prasad was such a towering and charismatic leader, in Bihar, and it's probably no one will be able to take his place, and it's unfair to expect that a young political scion would immediately be able to step into his father's shoes. That too at a time when the father is convicted. So, I mean, while I do think we should give Tejasvi the benefit of doubt over here, it is clear that he hasn't succeeded even in convincing voters who want to vote for his alliance. So, there's definitely a problem.
Having said all that, opinion polls are only early trends with a lot of variables that are likely to change, but stay tuned to the Quint for all updates on Bihar elections. If you like listening to this episode, please subscribe to the Big Story playlist for episodic updates. We're live on Apple, Google Podcast, Spotify, JioSaavn, and most of the other popular podcast streaming platforms. For other podcasts, please log on to the Quint website and check out the podcast section. For any feedback, shoot an email to podcasts@thequint.com.
Thanks for listening. Log on to the Quint's website and check out our other podcasts.